All right, let's look at the answer key here for the Chapter 4 quiz review practice. All right, the law of demand says that the price of a good rises. So what we are going to be looking for with law of demand and any problems you see with law of demand is that inverse relationship between price and quantity. So price is moving one direction, the quantity demanded is moving in the other direction. Price is going up, we know quantity demanded is decreasing or is going down. So if you go and you look here, say letter C, buyers will purchase less. This is in part because their real income has fallen. If you remember, right, the law of demand holds true. We talked about the income effect and the substitution effect, which income has to do with your real, not money income, right, your real income. Gas prices go up, you buy less gas. Why? Well, your income is still the same. Your money income is still the same. It just doesn't go quite as far as it used to, right? Your real income has decreased. That's what we call the income effect. The substitution effect has to do with your ability, or excuse me, your willingness. Right? Income effect is ability. Substitution effect is your willingness. So we're substituting relatively less expensive goods when it comes to the substitution effect. Okay, so that would be C. Any that you say as price goes up, you see buyers purchase more, you know right away that those we can get rid of those two. The others purchase less in hopes that price will fall in the future. That's expectations of the future. That would be a demand curve shift, not a quantity demanded. And buyers recognize that price may be even higher in the future, so they buy now. Again, expectations of the future. And those are demand shifters. Doesn't have anything to do with the law of demand. Number 2, the law of demand says the lower the price of a good, right? So here we see lower price. We know quantity demanded is probably going to be going up. Come down and see here, D, the larger the quantity demanded of that good. Remember, these are working in opposite order. So price is falling, quantity demanded is going up. They're moving in opposite directions. Number 3, the demand curve for spinach. So we're talking about now that entire relationship. Okay, so the demand curve for spinach shows the quantity demanded of spinach. Remember, demand curve is going to show how much consumers purchase. This is what demand is, right, at all various possible price levels. So look at B, at each possible price of spinach. That's, right, the demand curve. Here are all the prices, right? All the different prices, and these are the different quantities. And we know it's downward sloping because this price is higher, this quantity decreases, moves in. All right? So at each possible price. Number 4, if we say that demand has increased, okay, so we're talking about demand, not quantity demand. So demand again is the entire curve. Okay, demand has increased. What do we mean by that? When demand increases, here's our demand curve. Change in quantity demanded, moving along the curve, A to B, along it. Increase means the curve shifts to the right. That's one of those shifters, 5 shifters, or expectations, income, market size, those a change in taste and preferences. So you find your answer, it's got to be D, a rightward shift to the demand curve. Demand is the curve. Quantity demanded has to do with a price and a spot on that curve. Number 5, if demand for personal computers increases as a result of an increase in income, all right, we're talking about here an increase in income. If we know that the demand for a good increases, that good must be a normal good, right? Normal good. So income goes up, income up, demand for normal good goes up, and vice versa. Income goes down, demand for normal good goes down, and demand for inferior would go up. Number 6, sugar and honey are viewed as substitutes for each other. So we got sugar and honey that can kind of be interchangeable when it comes to cooking. If we see the price of sugar rise, what's going to happen in the market for, looks like honey here? Price of sugar rises, consumers are buying less sugar. Well, they still need something to to do their baking or their cooking with. So we're going to see an increase in the demand. So the whole demand curve for honey is going to shift to the right. Demand for honey would shift to the right or increase. Number 7, which of the following events is likely to reduce the demand for on-campus housing? So we're talking about demand again. We're talking about a shift of the demand curve to the left for housing. So what is going to shift the demand curve to the left? And if it becomes less fashionable, this is talking about our tastes and attitudes and preference. If it becomes less fashionable, less cool to live on campus, you're going to see a reduction in the demand, right, or a shift to the left. Right, more students enrolling, that's going to be an increase in market size, that shift to the right. If dorm fees, if it becomes more expensive, now there'll be a smaller quantity, but this would be movement along the current scale. It wouldn't curve. It would not be a shift. So the only one that works really well there is C. Number 8, which of the following is true of the relationship between price and quantity supplied? All right, so here we're talking about the law of supply, right? Relationship between price and quantity supplied. Here, law of supply, we got a direct relationship. So price goes up, quantity supplied goes up as well. Price goes down, quantity supplied goes down. They move direct in a direct relationship with each other. So D, there is a direct relationship between price and the quantity supplied. Leads right into here. As the price of milk increases, okay, price consumers are willing to pay for milk goes up. Producers are normally willing to supply greater quantities. That's that profit motive. Prices go up, we'll bring more milk to market. This is the law of supply. Okay, law of supply. Number 10, recently it's been discovered that lobster growers on a farm can feed algae to their lobsters, and it's a much cheaper food source. All right, so we know that we're going to see a movement in the supply curve. If it's cheaper, and that's the big thing with the supply. If it becomes cheaper to produce, it's going to increase supply or shift to the right. So here it's cheaper, food costs are lower, it's cheaper to feed those lobsters, the supply curve will shift to the right. Number 11, which of the following would cause an increase in the supply of wheat? Now this is kind of a tough one. I like this one. But if you go through all of these, right, an increase in fertilizer costs. If it's more expensive to fertilize, it's going to increase costs. That's going to shift wheat to the left. A decrease in the price of bread, right? If there is a less demand for bread, that lowers the price, right? There's going to be less expectations, or the going demand for wheat. It's going to lower the price of wheat. Therefore, there's going to be less supplied. C, a decrease in the price of corn. Now, corn is a substitute in production. So I can either grow corn or I can grow wheat. And if corn prices fall, I might look for a relatively more expensive or a higher priced commodity to plant. In this case, I can grow wheat. It's a substitute in production. So we decrease the price of corn, we see an increase in the supply of wheat. Farmers turn from corn to wheat. On land prices, that's going to be an increase in costs. That's going to shift to the left. And an expectation that the price of wheat will be higher the next period, so not this period, the next one. I say, well, we'll hold off and we'll plant wheat next time. Okay, so that's expectations of the future. So C is the one that works best there. 12, a surplus. Okay, when does a surplus occur? Remember, there's our supply, there's our demand curve. All right, surplus is always going to occur when price is above equilibrium. Price is above, so somewhere above here. And that means our quantity demanded is going to be less than our quantity supplied. So here's our quantity supplied, here's our quantity demanded. Surplus above equilibrium, and quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. So I come down here and I find letter B. It makes sense. Quantity supplied exceeds quantity demanded at the equilibrium price. So if at the price there is a higher supply than there is demand, our quantities supplied of each, you're going to see a surplus, and then we'll see downward pressure on price to deal with that, like we see in 13. If there's a shortage in the market for shoes, so if we have a shortage of shoes, what's going to be the result? Well, the price should rise to eliminate that shortage. Anytime there's a shortage, we're going to see upward pressure on price, and the price will rise. That will eliminate the shortage. 14, tough question. It's a good one though. 14, so this is kind of a two-part, kind of talk about how we work through this one. So if the tea harvest is bad for a particular year, so if I start with that, and I'm going to quickly draw the market for tea. So here's supply and demand for tea. And we know if supply is bad, we have a bad harvest, that's going to be a reduction in the supply, and this is for tea. This is part one. We've got to think this through. So I can see right away, supply decreases, shifts to the left. What happens to the price of tea? Price of tea goes up. All right, so I know price of tea is increased because of the bad supply, because of the bad year, bad harvest year. What's going to happen in the market for coffee? All right, so tea and coffee substitutes of each other. So what's going to happen if tea prices go up, quantities supplied and demanded go down? What's going to happen in the market for coffee? Well, in coffee market, people buying less tea, they're going to buy more of the substitutes. So we're going to see, here's our supply, here's our demand, here's our price. We're going to see the demand for tea shift to the left. So this is the second part, again, coffee. We're going to see the demand for coffee shift to the right. And now we come here and I can see that my price has gone up and my quantity has gone up as well. So I look at my answers. Should be B, increased price and increased quantity. Kind of a two-part reflective. It's a good question. It's a tough one. You'll have to kind of think that one through a little bit, but that's a good one. Number 15, attempts are being made to develop a biodegradable plastic using ag products such as potatoes. If the attempts are successful, what will happen to equilibrium price and quantity? Right? That's going to be a definite increase in the demand for potatoes. If all of a sudden they have this new application, right, new technology is allowing them to be used in some other form other than just eating them with our steak. Okay, so not just steak eaters buying potatoes. We also have these plastic companies. We're going to see a big increase in demand. This is potato again, and we can see that price has gone up. Quantity has gone up. So I find that B, price will increase, quantity will increase. Use that model of supply and demand. It allows you to easily see what is going on with quantity and equilibrium. And lastly, number 16, Kobe Bryant, LeBron, and Kevin Durant make their way to the NBA and increase the popularity of basketball, professional basketball. What's this going to lead to? Well, we know that this is going to be a demand side change. Kobe, LeBron, very popular, very fun to watch. Consumers can't get enough. They want to watch these individuals. So do this increase in popularity. This is NBA. Here's our demand curve too. We see it shifting to the right. We should know by now. Demand shifts to the right. Price goes up. Price goes up. Quantity 1, quantity 2, quantity is increasing. How does that impact our answer? We have an increase in the equilibrium quantity. The others don't really fit the bill. Decrease in quantity, no. Decrease in salary, or excuse me, ticket prices, no, that would drive them up. Decrease in their salaries, no, that would increase salaries. Okay, so all of these are going to not fit the bill other than letter A. All right, hope that helps.